Tomorrow morning. I'm on a plane, so it doesn't. Good evening. It's a true story. I don't mind doing it on the plane, but my neighbors might. Although one of them would be my son, he wouldn't mind. We are learning Maseches Nedarim Daf Ayin Gimel, which is really tomorrow's blot. And then the blot for Shabbos I'll record tomorrow once I land in New York, Emir Hashem, and post it. Just fair warning for those of you who need to brace yourselves. Daf Ayin Dalet is a complete throwback to Maseches Yevamos. Zika. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when the time comes.
That's the real reason those going to New York. It has nothing to do with it.
I saw Daf Ayin Dalet. I'm like, I gotta get out of town. We've been discussing whether or not it's an imperative to actually hear the neder that one is being mefer. And here the Gemara brings this case to a medical front. Says the Gemara 3 lines down on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Boy Rami Bar Chama, Cheresh, Mahu Sheyafer Leishto. Person is not able to process, he's not able to hear. So is that person allowed to do hafara? And what are the two sides? Number one is like this. Im Tim Solomar Baal Mefer Below Shmiya. If you want to say that a husband is allowed to be mefer without hearing, that's okay, because at the very least, bishum debar mishmahu, at least he's in the category of people who can hear. Masha'ein ken aval cherish delam bar mishmahu. Maybe we should say that he's not yotze. And where do we see this idea? Hainu de Reb Zera, 5-6 lines down. Dama Reb Zera in a completely different context. And this is in the context of bringing a korban mincha. When a korban mincha is brought, it's brought belula bashemen. It has flour in it and it has oil. Now, halacha is that you don't have to mix it. However, it has to be in a ratio where it is at least mixable. And the line in the sand is 60 units of the flour and the log shemen, one unit of the oil. That works. But if a person has 61 units of flour, then it won't have the right mixture. So therefore we don't allow that. And how do we express this in halacha? Because we don't actually have to mix it. Any mixture where mixing is in theory achievable, then whether or not you mix, we don't care. As long as it's in theory achievable, great. That's similar to the husband who can hear but didn't hear. However, so let's finish the line. And on the flip side, if you have a ratio of oil to flour where the ratio will not allow for a theoretical mixture to be the right mixture, so then the lack of capacity to be mixed properly, that's what ruins it. And this would be the person who is a cheresh. So which one is it? Do we say that, or do we say odilma v'shama isha lo me'akev? Is it le'ikuva? And the cheresh cannot be mefer any nedarim of his wife. She's just down on her luck. She married the wrong person if she wanted hafaras nedarim. Odilma, or perhaps would we say that it's not me'akev at all? The Gemara responds 7-8 lines from the bottom. Amar Rava Tashma v'shama isha, an explicit drasha. Rava quotes a brisa that a man v'shama isha, the man hears the neder prad le'eshes cheresh. Wow, this is a very glot, clean, simple Gemara. And the Gemara says that if a person is a cheresh, they're not allowed to be mefer nedareha. And that means she's down for the count. She cannot make, and any nedarim she makes, I don't know what the baseline is, but l'chora she'd have to keep her nedarim, because if he's not mefer and he can't hear, he's not even allowed to be mefer. L'chora they're hukam, they're regular nedarim.
Does a written neder come?
No idea.
I mean, can you make a neder by writing?
Somebody who's mother from talking to his friends allowed to write to his friends.
This is shmiya. This is shmiya. Okay, but let's take Tex's question and play it out. Let's say that a woman writes, I will not I'm taking a neder myself not to eat celery. So, she only writes it. She never verbalizes it. Is that begeder? Is that begeder the whole parsha of Nedarim Bichlal?
But is that even a neder at all? Right.
Is that a neder at all? So a double level question. I have no idea what the answer is. That it's not what? It's not considered dibur. I agree with you that it's not dibur. The question is it a neder? And if it is a neder, is it like a regular wife's neder that's subject to the hafara of her husband or not? I don't know. I have a feeling we should see it throughout the Masechta. No?
We have a million questions. I really said this when I said neder. How many cases we've got a million you got this word, add that word here, it's better this way. I would add.
But you're going up against sarcasm, it says Visham.
No, we've got so many cases like of one word off and it meant something.
Okay, but how many times do you write something down and then the person tells you, no, that isn't what I meant, that happens all the time. It can be just this.
I think this is more technical than that. I hear your concern, Stan, and I agree with it, but I don't know that it matters. Like we just don't know if this counts as a neder just because we're Amaratzim. No offense. But, and even if it was, is that the same? It can't be the same thing as hafara bepeh, because the cheresh is precluded. Otherwise, the Gemara should have said, "Elamai," maybe it was written down.
Maybe like you could say like the there, it needs to be right with you, and it has to be like right to be heard, and therefore it has to be.
Why? Why can't it be right to be read?
I mean, if you write something.
I know it's not what the Torah says, but and that may be the answer, David. I just don't. It's a good question.
If you write something bad down about somebody, is that considered lashon hara?
If you share it with someone, probably.
Right, so if that's.
We're not asking whether or not it's considered communication. We're asking whether or not it's actually a neder.
Right.
You for sure communicated. The question is it considered a neder? And that is another level of communication. The halachos of entering into a neder, as we can see from the Masechta, we have konam, we have harei alai and harei zeh. It's a formula, and it's a book that we've never written. And I'm sure there are answers to this. You're about to finish going through the tour. You'll let me know what you find. All right, next question. No, he said he was going through the tour in Hilchos Nadar. Not all of the tour, just the tour in Hilchos Nadar. Relax, everybody.
I didn't say anything about making sound speaking to his friend. That's all. I didn't say anything in the
Right.
Torah, so.
Okay, we'll have to keep looking. Text, good question. 6 lines from the bottom, another question. Ibayalahu, Baal, Maushi Yafer l'shtei nosha bevas achas. He has 2 wives, and each wife makes a neder while standing right there. And on the spot, he says, these nedarim are mufar. Is he allowed to say that one sentence, or does he have to specify? Rachel, your neder is mufar. Leah, your neder is also mufar. So it says the Gemara, do we say osa dafka? Osa in the singular is quite specific, and therefore, because it says osa, so he cannot do this double hafara, olav dafka, or do we say no? It's osa. Stop making a diuk on every word in chumash. We have enough diukim. You're adding ones that don't need to be there. You can even make hafara for 2 people at the same time.
It's not for the norm, according to the man that each woman made multiple vows. Or is it if both women made one vow and he came and said the same lashon? You have the same thing.
If he says one response to 2 vows,
But he said that your vows, he says your vows are hereby.
He's pluralizing.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So
so have to do it. What does that have to do with anything? Osa means this one wife has to have direct hafara.
I understand. I'm saying take that out. I'm saying it's more complicated in this case because the women made multiple vows.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that if each woman made one vow, right? So there's 2 vows altogether. And he uses the lashon of I'm revoking your vows.
I'm going to say that we already know that a vow can be made for 2 vows at the same time.
Where do you see this Ran? The Ran that I see 2/3 of the way down says, "Iboyalahu Baal mahu sheyafer l'shtei nasha b'vasachas shim nadru shtehen yomar lehen mufar lechon."
Right. So it says if one has 2 wives and both of them made vows, and revoke the vows of both wives, but someone his by saying that your vows shall be revoked.
I don't think it means that each wife made 2 vows.
No, but
I'm saying that's what it says.
I'm gonna
Really?
say
Yeah. So it says.
I'm going to say there's a fair shariah that there's no such thing as a vow could be made for 2 nedarim of one wife at the same time.
2 nedarim of one wife.
Yeah, there's a fair shariah from Rabbi Eliezer. The guy says, "Call nedarim shikari," and
True.
the
True.
Gemara judgment and-
Not a good raya. Not a good raya, because the Gemara says l'chishama. He has to hear them.
But the point is that he doesn't say it.
Oh, you're right. That's correct. That's correct. That was the flow of events we described yesterday. That's correct. That's correct. But here the question is different, and I know you're reading that, Stan. I totally agree with you. I'm wrong, but it's hard for me to see that in the words of the Ran. Sheim nadru shtehen. Doesn't say Shimnaju Shtehen Nedarim Harbe, right? I'm wrong. I am.
would agree, but.
I'm wrong. I just don't know why I'm wrong. I don't. What about? Did he say anything here? That's so odd.
It's kind of the Gemara is clear.
Let's read that.
Let us read on.
For real.
The Gemara says, do we say that Osa is Dafka or Lav Dafka? And the Gemara tries to extrapolate from the world of Sota. 4 lines from the bottom, Ravina Toshma. Ein mashkin shtei sotos ke'achas. There are 2 women. They are not allowed to drink the sota water together because because when you see, when the 2 women, when they see each other drinking, they're like, well, if she's drinking, then I'll drink. But really what we want to happen is contrition. If they're guilty, we want them to open up and be like, oh, I would rather not explode. I did something wrong. Like, let's just be clear. So because in this case, of libo gas bechaverta, so the Tanakama holds ein mashkin shei sotos ke'achas. But Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no, lo min Hashem uzeh. That's not what it means. Rather, ela mishum shenemar v'yishka osa in the singular levada. And what we're doing is extrapolating from the world of sota that just like over there, we have a drush on the word osa in the singular, and therefore we say ein mashkin shtei sotos ke'achas, that they can't both drink the sota water at the same time. So we bring the drush of osa back to our case of a husband who has 2 wives, and he has to specify, he has to be mefer neder individually for each woman and cannot do so, as the Ran writes over here, where he says mufar l'chon in the plural.
Why is it necessary? It's
Why is
flat
what
out the
necessary?
word.
What?
The word is flat out on its face.
I don't understand what
Osa, that's it. It's her. Doesn't mean you can do more than one at the same
Osa
time.
could reference your wife.
Right.
But you have 2 of them.
So what? So there's 1, 2, 3, each one is separate. What if one has Nedarim and another one doesn't? Osa is clearly better for one single.
But that's what the
person.
Gemara says, is Osa dafka or is Osa lav dafka?
Right.
They're asking, is it drasha worthy? We make diukim from the Torah all the time, on a vav, on a yud, on everything, on a tag. We make drashas on everything. So when we see the word Osa, is it a colloquialism? It's just she's the wife, so we refer to her as her. But it's a casual word, just like, okay, she's the wife. If she makes, so she's individual, it's not they. So is it dafka or is it lav dafka? Do we say the word osa is worthy of a drush or not? So the Gemara extrapolated from the case of sota, where we have a brisa, and the brisa over there says on the bottom of the page, v'ishka osa levada.
But if it meant to do multiple at the same time, then it should have had a nun sofisa.
Not proper Hebrew. My wife made a neder, not my wife. I only have 1 wife.
Right, but so that's why if you want to be.
But the pasuk doesn't make sense. You'd be using a plural with a singular context. That doesn't work. The question is, we've used the word because it's proper in the flow of grammar. So can I be medaik there or not? Yes or no? We had to figure it out. So we brought a raya from Sota where the word osa had a specific drush. All right. Ayin Gimel Lamed Beis on the top. We're going to be stopping right at the end of this page. The last word on the line. Bogeres, if there's a girl who is now above the age of 12 and a half, Sheshasa Yud Beis Chodesh, she got engaged and she was waiting 12 months to get married. The Almana Lamed Yom, and an Almana, when she gets married, she only waits 30 days. What happens if we get to that point and they exceed that limit? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Yafer. If a husband drags his feet and he doesn't get married after 12 months for a bogeres or 30 days for an almana, the halacha is that once he breaks that threshold, he's chayav b'mezonoseha, then he has to pay. And the Gemara says, according to the Tanakama, therefore, you're also able to be yafer. In other words, the father now is gone. Father's out by bogeres, right? He can make this, he can be mefer all by himself now. Even though she's a bogeres and the father's out, but within the 12 months, the Baal still is not full control. But once he is chai b'mezonoseh, month 13, month 12 and 1 day. So just like he's going to be chai b'mezonoseh, he's also able to be yafer. Says the Gemara, no. The Mishnah concludes, Ein habal mefer at shati kanes l'rishuso. Nope, not enough. Yes, you're right. After 12 months, you're chayav b'mizonoseha. However, hafara requires full marriage for the Baal, for the Arus, to actually be able to be mefer. So machlokas, in the period of time after 12 months and before proper marriage, the Tanakama says, just like he's chayav b'mizonoseha, he's able to be mefer a neder of hers. And the Chachamim disagree and say that the Baal can never be mefer achet hikanis l'reshuso until there's chubah v'kiddushin that they're completely married.
If they're separated, they're not actually divorced, does that still count? They're living separately?
Yeah, they're married. Separation is that's an American thing. I mean, I'm sure it's happened in history, but it's not a halachic status.
No, I'm saying because they're not living together, then she's not.
According to the Tanakama, nothing changes. He would be, it's alimony. He would be obligated to pay no matter what. Nothing changes. Separation is the only case that's really like that is when he knows that they're going to get divorced. That then your question may have some teeth, because when one knows that they're going to get divorced, he's still chayv his own set, but they're also b'tash m'shamita. Maybe not sure. So the Gemara wants to now equate the sheet of Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah, who says that after 12 months he's able to do hafara. He wants to equate Rabbi Eliezer Mishnah Rishona Amru Davar Echad. That these two hold the same thing. Rabbi Eliezer, as mentioned in our Mishnah, and Mishnah Rishona is the first shita in the following Mishnah. They say the same thing 5 lines down on Gimel Amud Beis. Ditznan. The Mishnah states, Nosnin lebesula Yud Beis Chodesh lefarnes atzma. When a besula gets engaged, they have 12 months in order for her to prepare for the wedding. Higia Yud Beis Chodesh. Once they exceed that amount of time, now we're into the 13th month. Ocheles mishalo. He's chayv b'mezonoseha, but look at this, the ocheles b'truma. This is the Tanakama of the Mishnah, and he holds that when one breaks the 12-month waiting period, and the husband is dragging his feet, not only is he chayv b'mezonoseha, but if he is a kohen, she can eat truma.
Is even she related though?
The Gemara doesn't say that. No, probably not. We learned that in Ksubis. Yeah, but what?
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that
No, but the law says just means she wasn't married. It doesn't necessarily.
I thought we learned about this in. Yeah.
It says the husband, the note here is the husband failed to proceed with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's true. Okay, so she gets to eat truma after the 12-month mark. Aval, if husband number 1 died, and she fell to a yavam, aval hayavam eino machil b'truma. So Ruvain, she was engaged to Ruvain. Ruvain and Shimon are brothers. They're kohanim, and they were engaged for a long time, but not to the point that they reached 13 months. So let's say less than 12 months. And then Ruvain died, and she falls b'yibum to Shimon. We'll just call her Rachel, as we have for many Masechtas already. Aval hayavam eino machil b'truma. The yavam, even if they, and we'll see some examples of this, she cannot have truma under him, even if it is a 12-month drag. It doesn't matter. There's no truma by a yavam. And says the Gemara a few examples, a third of the way down. She was engaged to Ruvain for 6 months, Ruvain the Kohen, and then he died. And 6 months with Shimon the brother. If 11 months and 29 days, chaser yom echad, there wasn't the full 12 months, or kulam bifnei hayavam chaser yom echad, or it was 1 day with Ruvain and 11 months and 29 days with Shimon, it doesn't matter. Eina ocheles b'truma zu Mishnah Rishona. This is the shita of the Tanakama, and while there's some dramatics here with the Yavam, we can ignore that, because what we need to do to compare to Rabbi Lazar in our Mishnah at the top of the page is see that a Basula who exceeds the 12-month preparatory period before she gets married, if the husband drags his feet, so then she gets to, she's chayv b'mezonos, he is chayv b'mezonoseh, and he can be made for the neder. And maybe Rabbi Lazar is just like the Mishnah Rishona that says that even truma can be transferred after the 12-month period has passed. The Brisa, however, continues. It's a Mishnah, not a Brisa. And the Mishnah continues a little more than halfway down. Bezdin shalach harehan. The next Bezdin that was paskening dinim didn't agree with this. Amru, ein ha'isha ocheles betruma ad shetikanes l'chuppah. So this really does look a lot like our Mishnah. The Tanakama shows that after 12 months, there's more latitude. Tanakam over here says after 12 months, there's more latitude even by Truma. The Chachamim in our Mishnah say, Ein habal mefer ad shetikanos l'reshuso. And over here, the dissenting opinion is also the Chachamim, the Bezdin Shalacharim. They say, Ein shochas b'truma shetikanos l'chuba. Very, very similar machlok, yes? So the Havamin of the Gemara is, maybe we should say this was Rabbah in the beginning of our Gemara, 4 lines down. Maybe Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah that says that after 12 months, a husband can be mefer is just like the Mishnah Rishona and the Mishnah that we quoted over here on Ayin Gimel Amud Beis that says that after 12 months she can even have truma. Maybe they're the same thing. The Gemara makes a couple of distinctions, and then we'll stop with this. Amar le Abaye, Doma Lohi. Maybe really Rabbi Eliezer and the Mishnah Rishona are not saying the same thing. Ad kan lo ka'ashma'ina and Mishnah Rishona ela lamechal b'truma derabanan. Maybe in regards to the Mishnah Rishona, the reason why this Mishnah that we brought in, where did we bring this from? This Mishnah that we brought in from Maseches Ksubis, maybe the reason why we're lenient by Truma is because really in Arusa is allowed to have Truma Midoraisa. We're machmir that she can't eat Truma Midorabanan. But Ladina, she's allowed to have, so we're going to be Mekel after 12 months. It was mutter during the whole 12 months Midoraisa. We were restrictive Midorabanan. Husband's dragging his feet into month 13. Sorry, buddy. Now you have to give her Truma. Because really, Medina, technically it was mutter. However, aval nedarim, which are deoraisa, aim alone. No, maybe the Mishnah Rishona would not agree with Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is dealing with a din deoraisa of hafara. That's a huge chiddush relative to truma, which is mutter midoraisa. So you have an isser deoraisa of nedarim and a weak isser derabanan of truma. No comparison. And similarly, another answer to make a distinction here between Rabbi Eliezer and the Mishnah Rishona. Ve'ad kan lo shamas le Rabbi Eliezer lagabe nedarim kid Rav Pinchas mishmei de Rava de Amar kol hanoderes al das baila hinoderes. Really, when it comes to the world of nedarim, like we saw in our Mishnah, every woman who makes a neder does so al das baila. And in this case, the Baal is the reason why there's a delay in the wedding. And since everything is al das baila, he can also be mefer. No problem at all. Aval, truma, afilu midrabana nami lo achla. But by truma, even rabbinically, we don't allow one to eat truma. So therefore, maybe there's no comparison between the Rabbi Eliezer, our Mishnah at the top, and the Mishnah about truma that we learned right after the Gemara opened. We'll stop right here. A recording for Daf Ayin Dalet for tomorrow, which is really Shabbos' blot. And Emir Hashem back together again for Daf Ayin Hey Sunday night. Wishing you all a beautiful Shabbos.